We urge you to carefully consider the evidence, to remember the countless victims suffered and perished because of incitement and the conspiracy are stated by the striker. The pursuit of justice for those victims demand that you hold Streicher accountable for the undeniable role in these actions. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your speech. Is the defense attorney ready for their opening statement? Begin whenever you're ready.
Good afternoon. My name is Saveera Fakhar Gondal, and I am joined by my co-counsel Aruba Hidayat. Together, we will be representing the defendant, Mr. Julius Streicher. Ladies and gentlemen of the court, as we embark on this trial, we must remember that the fundamental principle of our justice system is that the prosecution must prove the defendant's guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. Julius Streicher stands accused of incitement to genocide and conspiracy to commit crimes against the humanity. While these charges are serious and the emotions surrounding them are understandably intense, it is important that we approach this case with clear, objective focus that justice demands. Julius Streicher was indeed the publisher of Der Stürmer, a newspaper known for its extreme anti-Semitic views. However, it is essential to distinguish between hateful rhetoric and the incitement to the criminal action. Streicher's publications were undoubtedly offensive, but the law requires us to differentiate between the distasteful speech and the actual incitement to the violence. Throughout this trial, we will demonstrate that the Streicher's role, while harmful, does not meet the legal standards required for the charges of incitement to genocide and conspiracy to commit the crimes against the humanity. Streicher was a propagandist, not a policymaker. He didn't have a hand in the planning or execution of any overt acts towards the crime against the humanity. His writings, while repugnant, were part of a broader, complex socio-political context in which many actors involved. We will represent testimony from the Julius Streicher himself, who will clarify his intentions and actions. He will explain that his goal was to propagate a particular ideological point of view, not to incite violence. Furthermore, we will hear from the Jacob, the Rick press chief, who will provide context about the role and the limitation of the Nazi propagandist, illustrating that Streicher influence, though significant in the realm of the public opinion, didn't extend to the direct orchestration of the genocidal policies. The defense will also scrutinize the evidence presented by the prosecution, questioning the direct casualties they attribute to Streicher's writings. We will urge you that while Streicher's newspaper undoubtedly contributed to a climate of anti-Semitism, but it didn't directly cause the Holocaust. The leap from the hateful speech to the direct incitement is significant and must be supported by a clear evidence, which the prosecution has failed to prove. In the end, the trial is not about the Julius Streicher writings were offensive. They were. But it is about whether those writings constitute a direct and actionable cause of the Holocaust under the law. We contend that they don't. We ask you to consider the evidence with the utmost care and to recognize that Streicher's guilt must be proven beyond a reasonable doubt. Anything else would be a miscarriage of justice. Therefore, we ask you to return a verdict of not guilty based on the principle of the justice and the rule of the law. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, defense, for that speech. Now, prosecution, you may begin your case in chief and call upon your first witness whenever you're ready.
Yes, Your Honor. I want my witness to approach the podium. Shall we begin?
Yes.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Firstly, we'll start the first question. First question is, state your name for the record.
Martin Borrman, Martin Borrmann.
All right, Mr. Borrman, when did you join Nazi Party and why?
So I enlisted in the military to protect Germany's glory in the Great War, World War One. I served as a gunner until the war ended. Afterward, I struggled to find a job to the country's devastation and my lack of education. In 1927, I joined the Nazi Party with some fellow Vertans, including Albert.
All right. What are your relations with Mr. Albert?
Initially, it was good, but Albert gradually stopped talking to me because he hated my popularity, which I gained by helping some people with insurance funds.
All right. And when did you become Hitler's secretary, and what were your responsibilities?
My positive outlook helped me to rise socially. So I was secretary to Robert Hess from 1933 to 1941, and then to the Hitlers from 1943 to 1945, managing communications, war plans, and domestic matters.
Great. Mr. Baumann, can you elaborate on your relationships with Julius Streicher and any interactions you had with him during the period in question?
Objection, Your Honor, compound question.
To which statement?
Your
Honor, compound question.
I will sustain the objection, but you may still ask the same questions, just break it up into two separate clauses and we will proceed.
All right. So, Mr. Witness, can you elaborate your relationships with Julius Streicher?
Well, I met Julius Streicher while working as Hess secretary, but I knew of him and his newspaper Der Stürmer even before joining the Nazi Party.
All right. And now, can you explain any interactions you had with him during the period in question?
So, as I earlier mentioned that I have met Julius Streicher while working at Hess secretary, but I still remember my first meeting Streicher. I was at one of my first conferences as Hess secretary.
All right. Witness, how did Der Stürmer contribute to the propaganda operations of the Nazi Party, particularly in isolating and inciting hatred against Jews?
Well, in his newspaper, he often claimed that isolating Germans from Jews were essential to restoring Germany and accused Jews of ritualistic murders. Der Stürmer incited mass hatred against Jews, and we leveraged its popularity to gain support for the Nazi Party's action.
All right, Mr. Borrman, can you explain your role in the planning and implementation of the final solution?
Not as such. I was only to hold conferences and I was sent to deliver messages about the final solution to Robert Ley, who was in charge of labor organization. So,
great. Mr. Borrman, can you please give a slight insight of euthanasia program?
Well, we created an enthusiast program to eliminate Jews and other deemed useless to conserve resources. So Der Stürmer inspired this with its cartoons advocating for the removal of worthless individuals to help Germany recover and to grow.
Well, Mr. Borrman, how did your interactions with other Nazi officials influence your knowledge of the power dynamics within the party and Streicher's downfall?
Well, while completing my duties, I became familiar with the power dynamics and relationship between everyone. His downfall began after falling out with Hermann Göring, leading Göring's supporters to accuse him of stealing Jewish property and spreading false stories.
All right. Mr. Borrman described the events that led to Julius Streicher being expelled from the Nazi Party, impact on his removal on the propaganda efforts related to the final solution.
Well, after all of this, Streicher was taken to Supreme Party Court, which decided that he was not fit for the leadership. To keep the peace within the party, Hitler had to expel Streicher. After this, Streicher's newspaper, that is called Der Stürmer, was no longer associated with the Nazi party and stopped being used for the Nazi propaganda.
All right. Mr. Borrman, at the last, could you explain the circumstances that led you to testify against Streicher and other Nuremberg defendants in exchange for a plea deal?
I thought Streicher's expulsion meant no trial for me, but I was wrong. Nuremberg lawyers offered a deal to me. That was that I have to testify against him, against Streicher, and other for the lighter sentence. I agreed to protect my interests and my family and to support my wife because my only family left since I losing contact with my brother Albert. So I did so.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Martin Borrman. There's no further question.
All right. Is there a cross-examination for the witness?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, you may begin whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Your Honor. So, Mr. Martin, are you there? Am I audible
Yes,
to you?
yes.
Can you please tell the Honorable Court about the Riksdag House Conference?
So, well, there's no incident that have been happened to Rick's conference that has been connected to this situation. So
No witness, no Martin. I'm not asking this. Please listen my question carefully. Can you please tell the Honorable Court about the Riksdag House Conference? If you're not sure, I can tell you about that.
can you please elaborate that thing?
Yes, so the Riksdag House Conference was one of the main conference there. Nazi official planned the final solution.
But there's no connection of
I'm not asking
Martin
this question,
Borrman.
Mr. Martin. Do you agree with it? Is there a
Objection.
Riksdag House Conference?
Objection, Your Honor. The
Um,
counsel is burdering my witness.
I tend to agree on that. Crossing attorney, I know you're making valid points, but please avoid cutting off the witness and remember to give her more space to speak. Thank you.
Sure, Your Honor. Was Julius Streicher part of that conference?
No. Julius Streicher was not a part of that conference because Julius Streicher was not directly involved in the final solution.
Great. As you mentioned, okay, so was he part of the group of the people Hitler asked you to deliver the message about the final solution?
So he was not directly linked, but as we have mentioned in our affidavit that yes, he was not directly linked, but some of his friend to whom the Nazi was connected. So he indirectly get information about the final solution from him.
Okay, please answer this question in the yes or no. Was he part of the group of people Hitler asked you to deliver message about the final solution?
It is partially true. It is not yes or no. It is partially true. Somehow it is, and somehow it is not.
So, is it your testimony that It is partially true.
Yes, it is partially true.
Did you give a statement before this trial today, the affidavit?
We have given a statement on this affidavit, of course.
Okay, you were under the oath.
Yes, of course.
Okay. So your signature is also on the last page, the affidavit.
Of course, yes.
Okay. So please turn to the line 67 of your affidavit. But he was never part of the groups of the people. Hitler asked me to deliver the updates or the messages to regarding the final solution.
Yes, I have answered it earlier that admittedly we never directly mentioned the final solution around the stretcher since he wasn't directly involved, as I answered it earlier.
Your
When
Honor, Your Honor, I asked this question that was he part of group of people Hitler asked you to deliver message about the final solution? And in the affidavit of Martin, it is clearly stated at the point number 67, he
answered
was never
earlier.
part of the group of the people Hitler asked to deliver the message about the final solution. So here, Your Honor, it's impeachment.
Dear
Should I move
attorney,
forward?
I have answered.
Oh, yes, please respond, prosecution attorney.
Objection, Your Honor. The attorney is misquoting the statement of my attorney. Oh, sorry, of my witness.
I tend to agree. You cannot impeach a witness for not
Yes.
fully answering your question. Especially when you don't have the affidavit pointing out which exact part that is being misconstrued. So I will overrule the objection and we will move on.
Sure, Your Honor. Okay, did you mention the final solution to Julius Streicher, Mr. Martin?
Objection, Your Honor.
No, not
Objection.
directly. We have answered.
Ask and answer.
No, Your Honor, I didn't ask this question.
This is being answered before.
No, Your
Yes.
Honor.
The question number 3 was the same one.
Okay, I'm just
No,
going to overrule the objection, but please move on. We don't have that much time left, so wrap up this cross-examination.
Please answer the question quickly, Mr. Martin. Did Streicher propose the elimination of Jews?
Admittedly, we never directly mentioned the final solution around the stretcher. He wasn't directly involved. He was not directly involved. Der Stürmer mentioned eliminating Jews from the Germany, but in the final solution, he was not directly involved.
Prosecution, you may call your second witness to the stand. Oh, wait, before that, is there a redirect for this witness?
No, there's no.
Okay, then please call upon your second witness.
If your lordship permits, I request the witness, Mr. Amon Leopold, to approach the stand. Good morning, Mr. Amon.
Good morning.
Please state your full name for the record.
So my name is Amon Leopold.
Mr. Goethe, could you briefly describe your background and involvement with the Nazi Party and SS?
Yeah, sure. I was born in Vienna in 1908 and raised mostly by my aunt. And I joined the Hembür in 1927 and later Austrian branch of Nazi Party and SS in 1930. I was deeply committed to pan-Germanic ideology and anti-Bolshevism.
So, well, how did you come to be involved with the publication of Der Stürmer?
So I started reading Der Stürmer during the difficult period of my life, when I was smuggling weapons and radios into Austria for Nazi party. And that was a very difficult time of my life. And the newspaper informed the necessity of my work that time. And yes, solidified my belief against the Jewish. So.
Fine. So can you describe the distribution as well as consumption of Der Stürmer with the SS, particularly the camps?
So Der Stürmers were regularly distributed among the SS guards and camp staff. It was very popular to see the essential reading for maintaining the ideological favor and justification for our action against Jewish and other undesirables.
Okay, got your point. So how did the content of Der Stürmer influence the behavior as well as the actions of SS guard and officials in the camp?
So the content of Der Stürmers, which depicted Jewish criminal and subhumans, had to desensitize and justify to brutal actions taken by SS guards. It reinforced the belief and eliminating Jewish was a necessary step for Aryan race and survival.
All right. What was your personal experience with Der Stürmer during your tenure as an SS officer and camp commandant?
So, as an SS officer and later the commandant of Krakow Plaza camp, I found the Stürmers to be an effective tool for maintaining the morale and ideological commitment of my men. The newspaper graphic and informatory content kept the guard, aligned with our mission.
Okay, so was there any specific instance where Der Stürmer content directly influenced a decision you made in your capacity as a camp commandant?
Yes. During the liquidation of Krakow Ghetto, the message from Der Stürmer about Jewish treachery and danger justified to several mayor we took, and the paper rhetoric reinforced the necessity of our brutal actions, including the mass shooting and deportation to extermination camps.
Fine. So did you observe any direct effect of Der Stürmer propaganda on the actions taken by the guards in the camp?
Yeah, the propaganda of Der Stürmers made the guard more willing to participate. The brutal
There was an
treatment
objection. I'm sorry.
Yes, leading question.
It's not a leading question. I'm asking her to elaborate on this fact. I'm not asking to answer in yes or no. So.
Yes, I am going to overrule this objection because
Your Honor,
that was
witness answered this question, yes or no.
No, I'm asking that quote the specific instance. Did you observe any direct effect on the action taken by, and she's sharing with her experience?
Your Honor, this question is a leading question.
Your question, please just rephrase your question in a manner that is more obvious, that it incorporates elaboration. But your question has no problems. It's just the way that you're phrasing it could be interpreted as leading. Now we're going to move on from this objection, and please re-ask your question.
I am asking again that did you observe any direct effect of Der Stürmer propaganda on the actions taken by SS guards in the camp? Can you elaborate on this?
Yes, the propaganda of Der Stürmer made the guard more willing and participate in the brutal treatment and execution of Jewish and other prisoners, and it desensitized them to violence and reinforced the belief that their action were justified and necessary. The paper was powerful tool for spreading anti-semetic propaganda that shaping the belief and action from many, and obviously including myself.
Well, how did you ensure that the guards read and internalize the message from Der Stürmer?
So we made the Stürmer easily accessible to distributing it widely and posting in a public area, and obviously the camp as well. Guards were encouraged to read it that time, and it was often discussed during the briefings and meetings. And if it became a part of their daily routine.
So, all right. Do you believe that Julius Streicher, through his publication Der Stürmer, contributed to genocide and crime against humanity committed by the Nazi regime? As a chief press officer, you would have known about this. So, please elaborate.
Yes, absolutely. Streicher publication was instrumental in spreading the anti-Semitic ideology and justified the incited genocide and other, atrocities committed by the SS and Nazi regime.
Thank you. Your response will be taken into consideration. No further question. My Lord, counsel, rest the case. Thank you.
Oh, and before that, is there another cross-examination for this particular witness from the defense?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, so before prosecution rests their case in chief, we're going to go through this cross-examination first. You may proceed whenever you're ready.
Yes, sure. Mr. Amon, can you please tell the court that what is your age?
I was born in 1908, so this is question.
So what's your age if you are born in 1908?
Objection, Your Honor. She's asking a non-leading question. She's
Your
not
Honor,
supposed to ask.
that is a valid objection, but I think in this case, perhaps relevance would be a better objection to raise. So would you like to amend your objection?
I want to switch. Yes, I want to switch my objection on relevance, as this has nothing to prove with the case. So I don't think so. There is a need for this.
Yes, I tend to
Your
agree.
Honor, I will prove the relevance of this question.
Could you explain to me how this witness's age is relevant to the case?
Your Honor, as it is mentioned in this affidavit about his mental condition, and I am trying to show the impeachment.
But how are you going to impeach a witness by knowing their age, though? That doesn't make a lot of sense.
Because he doesn't know his own age. And it shows that his mental condition.
I'm going to sustain this objection, and because the age of the witness is not that relevant, it doesn't matter if they remember it or not, because this is mock trial. This is not real life, and we're trying to keep the case intact here. So we're going to move on from that question, and you may continue with your cross-examination.
Sure, Your Honor. Mr. Amon, can you provide evidence to corroborate your claims of the opposition to the Nazi regime's policies? Mr. Amon, can you provide evidence to corroborate your claims, the claims that you have made?
Objection, Your Honor, on the ground of a non-leading question. She's asking a non-leading question. She's asking to present an evidence regarding the case. So how?
Actually, I'm going to overrule that because she asked, can you provide evidence? And that's a leading question. So please continue.
Yes.
Let's not lag on this question for this long. We're running out of time for the entire case. So try to keep this short and concise. And don't raise an objection unless it's absolutely necessary in the case.
Sure, Your Honor. I will move to the next question. How can you be certain of accuracy of your testimony? Given the passage of time and the trauma you have suffered during the war, as you have mentioned in your affidavit that you were in the war, and also your mental condition is also mentioned in the affidavit. So how can be you certain of your testimony?
No, that obviously that is not. That was very difficult period of my life, and when I was smuggling different weapons and radios. So I started reading the Der Stürmer. So I'm not unsound. I'm not asking about.
this? I'm not asking. I'm asking about the accuracy of your testimony.
Yes, it's accurate.
Okay, Mr. Amon, can you please answer my question that were you not responsible for maintaining basic standards of humanity in the camp? The
No,
camp which you have
that
assigned the
was
responsibility.
no. I mean that was the nature of our work, and yeah.
Then how can you justify the mass killings that occurred in the camp?
Objection, Your Honor. It's a non-leading question again.
Yes, I'm going to sustain
Okay.
the objection.
Thank you so much, Your Honor. Mr. Rahman, I will rephrase my question and I will ask you a last question that is it true that you were following orders and carrying out the policy of Nazi regime as many others were doing at that time?
I have already told you. It's more than no or yes.
You have not answered my question.
Oh, it's more than no or yes.
You can't partially answer this question. You have to answer properly. Tell us that you were following orders or not.
No.
Okay, you were not following orders.
So we're going to end the cross-examination right here. Are there any redirects for this witness from the prosecution?
No.
Okay, in that case, then do you rest your case in chief? Okay, I'm gonna suppose that's a yes. Defense, you may begin with your first direct examination for your witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. May I proceed?
Yes.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Martin, what do you do for a living?
Well, I established a newspaper called Der Stürmer, which used to be an official newspaper of Nazi Party.
You tell the honorable court about your career before the war.
I started my career as an elementary school teacher at a school in the Franconian city of Nuremberg. I was living pretty much paycheck to paycheck, as school teachers don't really make much. Once the World War started, I was immediately enlisted the German army.
What was different after the war?
After the war, many of my fellow Germans faced poor economic conditions. Personally, I was making a fraction of what I was earning before. I enlisted and could barely afford food on the table. Inflation was rampant. Many of my peers faced unemployment. The aftermath of the war hurt us severely.
So then what did you do?
So, as you know, I was facing pretty much unemployment. So I turned to my newspaper to make money. Dear Stürmer translated into English as the attacker.
When did you start the Stürmer newspaper?
When I was pretty much broke and needed to find a new income stream support to myself. So I merged with the National Socialist German Workers' Party, and then I started the Der Stürmer newspaper.
So, Mr. Julius, when you were part of Nazi Party, what was your job?
My job there was mainly, I was responsible for pushing out propaganda and newspapers that fit with the ideology of the party. Mostly just publishing Der Stürmer, but I did a few speeches as well. I was not involved at all with any logistics or operation plans within the party. When leaders were planning things like deportation or the building of concentration camps, I was not involved at all.
So, what did you write in Der Stürmer?
So I will it was a magazine that reflected the views of many German people. I saw an opportunity to feed myself and my family and took advantage of it. We made cartoons and caricatures about people that the German people blamed for the crisis our country was going through.
Okay, okay, please tell the honorable court, were you involved in planning in any of the Nazi operations?
No, I only expressed the opinions and views of the entirety of Germany, and I was never part of the legislative meetings to determine action. I just expressed my views and opinions in the Der Stürmer to restore the glory of Germany, and it was non-violent.
Please tell the honorable court about the call of actions.
So I will say this right now. I never directly called for the death or murder of so many Jewish people. My newspaper were often exaggerated with caricatures. Even so, our calls to action were never campaigns to advocate the extermination of the Jewish population. Sometimes we created campaigns to rightfully smear the reputation of some Jewish officials as city officials, and at the most, we called for the deportation of Jewish people to Madagascar. Although I envisioned a Germany without Jews, but I never promoted a violent mean towards this end.
Were you aware of the torture or murder of Jewish people at the concentration camp?
Not for the vast majority of the publication of Der Stürmer. I was only active in publishing my newspaper for the Nazi party and was never a part of legislative meeting to determine action.
Did you agree with the policies passed by the Nazi party?
It really depends. I largely agreed with the fact that Jewish people were the cause of many problems throughout the country, as did everyone else I knew. I never said anything out of the ordinary, only commonly held beliefs that many others also said. However, I never advocated for so many people to be murdered. But even so, I only wanted Jewish people to be taken out of positions of power and to be separated from the rest of German people. I was simply part of a large culture, and my publishing should not be singled out for the blame when practically the entirety of Germany was saying the same thing that I was.
So, did you continue to publish after this Stürmer? After you find out about the existence of concentration camps?
For about a year, yes. It's not something I am very proud of, but I was scared of what could happen if I stopped publishing the newspaper. Since I had previously been kicked out of the Nazi party, I didn't want to be labeled as a Jewish sympathizer.
Why were you kicked out of the party?
I didn't share many of the same views as many of the other party members. I would describe their speeches and propositions as much more extreme than mine. I often found myself in many disagreements with the high-ranking officers within the party. I found myself under some heavy accusations from some of my enemies within the party and ended up being kicked out. Nazi leaders definitely had more power than a simple publisher.
What kind of accusations made against you?
I was accused of keeping confiscated Jewish jewelry. To be honest, the accusation was true. I only became the writer of Der Stürmer because I needed a means to feed my family, and keeping the stolen jewelry was another way of making money throughout the period of time.
That's all you have for the question.
Okay, is there a cross-examination for this witness?
Yes, there is.
Okay, you may proceed.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Okay, let's begin. Mr. Streicher,
Yes.
isn't it true that Der Stürmer consistently portrayed Jews as dangerous and subhuman?
Der Stürmer don't tell the Jews as insider. They always talked about the deportation of Jews to Madagascar.
You are not answering my question. My question is, isn't it true that Der Stürmer consistently portrayed Jews and dangerous subhumans? Jews as dangerous
Jews
and
were not
subhumans?
called the subhumans.
No.
Jews were not called the subhumans. If you read it properly.
But you have mentioned in your deposition that Der Stürmer consistently portrayed Jews as dangerous and subhumans. Is that deposition right?
But it was because they invaded in the
Yes.
Germany and were trying the
Your answer is yes.
destruction of Germany.
All right, I got your answer in yes. My next question is, you agree that Der Stürmer's articles and cartoons depict Jews as rapists and murderers, don't you?
They partially depicted them as murders, and it was true.
All right. Your newspaper explicitly stated that Jews were responsible for Germans' problems, correct?
Jews were responsible for German people, and also I
All right.
tell you about the
All right.
deportation of Jews to Madagascar.
All right.
Because
Mr. Julius, kindly stick to yes or no as we are short of time. Okay. My next question is, Der Stürmer was widely read across Germany, wasn't it?
yes,
Okay. Your publication had a significant influence on public opinion, didn't it?
can you rephrase?
I asked that your publication had a significant influence on public opinion, isn't it?
It has partially a significant opinion as we influence on public opinions, as we mentioned that Jews were responsible
All
for
right. I got your
destruction of Germany,
I got your answer.
and it
I
was a
got your
private
answer in
newspaper.
It is
Your Honor,
irrelevant. I got
objection, budgeting
yes.
the witness. The opposition attorney is not allowing my witness to complete her answer.
I see that problem too. Please let your witness finish their answers.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Your Honor, I got whenever I got my answer, I will move towards next, as I have a lot of questions to ask to prove, so that I'll go with it. So next question is, you are aware that Der Stürmer incited hatred against Jews among its readers, aren't you?
It yes, it incited hatred amongst Jews, and it always talked about the deportation of Jews, never the extermination of Jews.
All right, Mr. Julius, please avoid the irrelevant facts. Next question is,
They are
you
not
became
irrelevant.
aware of the existence of concentration camps before you stopped publishing Der Stürmer, correct?
Can you rephrase?
Mr. Julius, you became aware of the existence of concentration camps before you stopped publishing
I
Der
have
Stürmer.
told in the direct examination that for about a year, yes, but I am not very proud of this.
All right.
Because
after learning about
I
the
don't want it to be labeled as a Jewish sympathizer, as I was kicked out of the Nazi party.
All right. Kindly answer precisely. So next question is, even after learning about the
precise.
concentration camps, you continued to publish for about a year, didn't you?
Yes.
You had a close relationships with Hitler, who protected you from your enemies, isn't that right?
It is not in my deposition. So
It is mentioned in your
it is not mentioned.
that you has close relationships with Hitler, isn't it mentioned in your deposition, Mr. Julius? We are short of time already. Please be vigilant.
No, Hitler never protected me from my enemies. But I have a close
You have
relationship with enemies, but it is nowhere written that he protected me from enemies.
It was mentioned in your deposition, and so I seek the attention of honorable court that reasonable doubt exists here. So my next question is, does Stürmer call for the removal of Jews from positions of powers?
Your Honor,
Didn't it?
can the opposing attorney explain that where that point is mentioned in the deposition of Julius Streicher?
What is the objection? The name of it.
Irrelevant.
Okay, I am going to overrule this objection just so we could get through this cross-examination quicker. Prosecution attorney, please wrap this examination up because we're running on time. And
Does
avoid
Stürmer
relevant
much obliged, Your Honor. Does Stürmer called for the removal of Jews from positions of power, didn't it?
Yes, it talked about the removal of Jews from the positions because Jews were responsible for the destruction of Germany.
All right. Your newspaper
And
advocated for
it
the
only mentioned to restore the glory of Germany, to deport them to
All right.
Madagascar.
Kindly keep it precise. My next question is, your newspaper advocated for the deportation of Jews to Madagascar, correct?
Yes.
Such calls to action contributed to Nazi regime's policies against Jews, didn't they?
Can you rephrase?
Such calls to action contributed to Nazi regime's policies against Jews, didn't they?
It was my personal view.
You have mentioned in your deposition. Is it true?
Yes, I am talking about it was my personal view to restore
All
the
right.
glory of Germany.
Next question. My next question is, you profited financially from the publication of Der Stürmer, didn't you?
Yes.
You kept
I have written that I was doing this all for my economic condition, because of my economic condition at that
All
time.
right.
And I have
You
nothing
kept
to do with the extermination of Jews.
Witness. You kept
Time.
confiscated Jewish jewelry for personal gain, correct?
Yes, yes.
Your
Because
motivation
I
to
have
publish,
to feed my family, so I confiscated the Jewish jewelry.
Mr. Julius, you intended to influence young minds with your anti-Semitic views, didn't you?
Yes, for the restoration of the glory of my country, because that
Alright.
publishing firm was distributing the newspaper to young children and the adults.
All right, I got your answer.
Defense? Is there a redirect for this witness?
Yes, Your Honor, there are redirect for this witness. Please, Mr. Julius, tell the honorable court that why you publish those anti-Semitic content in the Stürmer.
As I already have mentioned that I wanted to restore the glory of Germany, and I only talked about the deportation of Jews to Madagascar, and I never advocated the killing of so many Jewish people.
Thank you, Mr. Julius Streicher. Did you ever mention about the extermination of the Jews in your publications?
No, I never mentioned the extermination of Jews. I only mentioned the deportation of Jews to Madagascar.
Thank you, Thank you, Mr. Julius Streicher. That's all, Your Honor. No further question.
Okay, defense, you may call upon your second witness.
Your Honor, may I proceed?
Yes, whenever you're ready.
Thank you. The defense called Mr. Jacob Otto to stand.
Yes, I'm here.
Mr. Jacob, please state your full name for the record.
Okay, well, my name is Jacob Otto Dietrich.
Mr. Otto, can you describe about your early life and your military service?
Yes, I served in the German army having volunteered for its rank at the age of 17. I carried myself with distinction, becoming an officer and being awarded for the first class Iron Cross. After the war, I studied at university in Munich, earning myself PhD in political science.
Okay. Mr. Otto, what did you do after your military service?
After my military service, I started my career in press. Much of my family worked for the newspapers, in fact, and until recently, many of them were working to manage or write for Nazi controlled or influenced newspapers, such as my brother.
Okay, well, Mr. Otto, when did you join the Nazi party and in what capacity?
In 1929, I joined the Nazi party as a personal press referent while working as a business manager of Augsburger Zeitung, an evening newspaper.
Okay, Mr. Otto, can you please tell the court that what significant event did you witness in 1934?
Yes, well, in 1934, I witnessed the Night of Long Knives. Also, Hitler ordered the murders of both high-rankings Nazi scrambling officials and his political enemies, such as Pepin's associates, questioning and discontents that still opposed him. Even Rome, the leader of SA, was killed.
Okay, Mr. Otto, how did this event affect you and other Nazi officials?
The Night of Long Knives had a profound impact on me and other Nazi officials as it marked a decisive turning point on consolidating Hitler's power and eliminating perceived internal threats within the party.
Okay, tell us that what was the task you were assigned after the Night of Long Knives?
I was tasked with ensuring that all the newspapers stayed in line with the official party narrative.
Okay, can you please describe Julius Streicher's role and relationship with Hitler?
Streicher was one of the original Nazi. He had welcomed Hitler after his release from prison. He was actually very close to Hitler, personally close to Hitler.
Okay, Mr. Otto, now tell me, what was your role as a right press chief?
Eventually, when I became right press chief in 1937, it fell within my responsibilities to oversee the publications of the Nazi party. This included many publications sent to SS or Hitler Youth or other branches of Nazi party. This did not include Der Stürmer, though, as it was Streicher's private newspaper.
Okay, Mr. Otto, my last question will be that what was the position of Der Stürmer along with other newspapers of that time?
The Der Stürmer never reached 500,000 weekly, while other newspapers' circulation was 21 million weekly. This was the position of Der Stürmer.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Otto. Your Honor, no further questions.
Okay, are there any cross-examinations for this witness?
Yes.
Okay.
Good afternoon, Mr. Jacob. Before proceeding with the questions, I just want to mention that I would appreciate your answers in yes and no. So please stick to that while answering yes or no. There is no need to narrate the stories and irrelevant facts. So this will be like helpful for me and all of us as well. So, it's starting with my first question. Mr. Jacob, you testified that Julius Streicher was known for its intense anti-Semitism. Is that true or not?
Not.
You're saying no, okay, but you have mentioned this in your affidavit in line number 47 that Julius was known for his intense anti-Semitism. You have mentioned this in your affidavit, and now you're saying that no. Okay, let's move.
No, I said that he
I
was a
asked
rash man. I said
the
that he was a
respected
rash
judge,
man.
please note this. Please note this.
Please listen my answer. He was an anti-Semite, but he was a rash man. He was a rash man.
But you said that he was anti-Semitic. Okay, moving toward my further question. You acknowledge that Der Stürmer Streicher's newspaper was particularly incendiary in its deception of Jews. Is it true or not?
Not wholly, not he was famous for his anti-Semitic nature.
This was actually my question. So you have answered it. Thank you. Now, you mentioned that newspaper slogan was, which mean that the Jews are our misfortune. So this slogan was displayed prominently on every issue. Is that true?
Yes, this was official slogan of about Der Stürmer that Jews are our misfortune.
Well, in your role as a Reich press chief, you oversaw many newspapers. But you stated that Der Stürmer was known for its unique intensity in anti-Semitism. Is that true? Can you confirm that?
What are you saying?
In your role as a Reich chief press, you oversaw many newspapers, but you stated that Der Stürmer was known for its unique anti-Semitism. Is that true or not? I'm just asking this.
But no, but it does not show anti-Semite nature.
You mentioned a libel case where Streicher was fined 900 marks. Is that true?
Yes, that's true.
So this shows that his accusations were not only extreme, but also legally recognized as false and harms. Is that true because of the fine?
Yes, please explain again.
Okay, so I said that this shows that his accusations were not only extreme, but also legally recognized as harmful. Is that true?
My opinions may have been influential and essential to recognize the individuals are responsible for their own actions. While opinions can shape beliefs, they do not absolve individuals.
This is not the question that I'm referring to. Okay.
You are asking
so
this.
let's moving. Okay, let's moving toward the next question. You stated that Streicher newspaper was not directly controlled by Nazi propaganda apparatus. Is that true?
Yes, because that was a private newspaper.
Yes, you mean yes. Okay. So you stated that Streicher newspaper was not. Okay. So however, it still enjoy Hitler personal favor and protection. Is that true?
Yes, Hitler himself had been consolidating power in German political science scene when.
Okay.
Well, he did not enjoy what you saying.
Okay, I got your answer. You have mentioned in your affidavit that Der Stürmer was displayed prominently in glass cases in majority cities, ensuring its widespread visibility and influence. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Well, even though you claim that Der Stürmer had a circulation of 500,000, so its weekly impact was amplified by these displays and Hitler's endorsement, wasn't it?
Der Stürmer has half a million weekly, while other newspaper have 21 million. So how can Der Stürmer spread that? He was not a part of propaganda. What are you saying about that?
But you have mentioned in your affidavit that its impact was amplified by these Hitler's endorsement. So on that behalf, I'm asking you this question. So now let's moving toward the next question. Okay, I got your point. Now let's move toward. Okay, so you have mentioned that Nazi propaganda included anti-Semitic textbooks and pamphlets. So Der Stürmer content was a part of this broader anti-Semitic narrative contributing to incitement of hatred and violence of Jews. Do you agree to this?
No, that was Nazi regime plan, not Der Stürmer, and his propaganda, not Der Stürmer. That was Nazi regime
But
plan.
but was a part of it, as you mentioned in your affidavit, that it was part of it.
What was a part of it? Like, what are you asking about?
I have asked, and you okay, let me ask again. I am saying that you testified that Streicher loyalty to Hitler and continued publication of Der Stürmer was motivated by his desire for fame, wealth, and power. Is that true? And you have mentioned that he was a part of a propaganda. So, what's your view in this?
He was a part of large propaganda. He was a small part of large propaganda. If Der Stürmer has never exceeded
Your
500,000,
Honor,
so how can it be a part of propaganda?
Argumentative question.
It is not.
She's asking for his views. Your Honor, objection.
I am
No,
going
it's
to. Okay, please explain, prosecution.
okay. So I'm not asking about the opinion. This is a very
You have
simple
asked.
question, and this is basically it's not opinion. It's what he saw at that time. I am asking that what he saw at that time. I am asking to share his experience that whether he saw this or not. I'm not asking his opinion that whether this happened or not happened. I'm just asking that tell me that whether you experienced this or not.
Your Honor,
Okay.
It's a simple.
my opposing counsel question shows that he's asking about my witness opinion views.
Please rephrase your question, and wrap this up because we have only 1 minute left for the cross-examination.
Yes, it's second last question. Okay, it's second last question. I'm almost done with this. Could the continuous publication of such extreme anti-Semitic content over more than 2 decades have played a significant role in inciting and justifying genocidal actions among the German populace? So, was it whether it has played a significant role or not? So, just you have to answer in yes or no. I don't need any long facts or stories from you.
I'm unable to understand this. What are you saying about?
Okay, let me rephrase it so that you can understand it better.
Yeah.
Okay, Streicher actions through Der Stürmer was not just about personal gain, but directly contributed to climate of hatred and violence that enabled the Holocaust. So, whether what is your view on this? Whether this happened, yes or no? Just
No.
Your Honor, objection, argumentative question.
it's not argumentative because I'm asking to share the experience which
Opposing counsel is again asking about
overruled.
witness opinions and views.
This is not an argumentative question, but again, please wrap this cross-examination up. We're running out of time.
So it's done from my side. Thank you, Mr. Tariq. No further question. The counsel is the case, my lord. Thank you.
Okay. So there are no redirects, right? Okay, I'm assuming that's a yes. We're gonna move into closing statements for both sides. So prosecution, you may begin first by presenting your opening statement.
Multiplied, Your Honor. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. Julius Streicher stands before you charged with incitement to genocide and conspiracy to crimes against humanity. For over 2 decades, Streicher's publications, Der Stürmer, relentlessly propagated venomous anti-Semitic rhetoric depicting Jews as subhuman and inciting hatred and violence. Streicher's words were not mere opinions, but weapons of mass destruction, fueling the Holocaust's atrocities. Through his newspaper, Streicher publicly indirectly called for the extermination of the Jewish people, poisoning the minds of millions. His influence was so profound that even within the Nazi regime, Der Stürmer was considered extreme. Streicher's close relationships with Hitler and his privileged position in the government only amplified his malevolent voice. Streicher's actions were not isolated. He actively conspired with other Nazi leaders, fully aware of their genocidal intentions, and contributed significantly to the systematic persecution and murder of innocent people. His relentlessly incitement and unwavering loyalty to the Nazi cause make him complicit in one of history's greatest crimes. Martin Bormann's first-hand account, as detailed in his affidavit, serves as compelling evidence of the defendant's central roles in the Nazi regime's crimes against humanity. His testimony directly implicates Julius Streicher in inciting genocide through anti-Semitic propaganda and demonstrations Bormann's own culpability in supporting and implementing the Nazis' most heinous policies. The prosecution argues the tribunal to consider this affidavit a part of overwhelming body of evidence against the defendants. Mr. Goeth's testimony established that Der Stürmer was a powerful tool of indoctrination and incitement. Julius Streicher's relentless anti-Semitic propaganda played a significant role in encouraging the genocide and crimes against humanity committed by Nazi regime. This direct examination shows that Streicher's publication was not merely a newspaper, but a weapon of hate that contributed directly to the horrific acts for which he stands accused. Through Mr. Goeth's detailed account, the prosecution has demonstrated beyond a reasonable doubt that Streicher committed the offense of incitement of genocide and conspiracy to commit crimes against humanity. The prosecution has proven beyond a reasonable doubt that Julius Streicher is guilty of incitement to genocide and conspiracy to crimes against humanity. We urge you to deliver justice for the countless victims by finding him guilty on all accounts. Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you for your speech. Defense, you may begin whenever you're ready.
Ladies and gentlemen of the court, ladies of the court, apologies. Your Honor, the prosecution would have you believe that Julius Streicher's words were the equivalent of acts of violence themselves. But, Your Honor, we must be careful not to conflate speech with action. Streicher's writings and publications, however hateful and reprehensible, were nonetheless expressions of opinion protected by the principles of speech. While we do not confuse Streicher's vile anti-Semitism, must consider the context in which he operated. He was a product of his time, and his beliefs, however misguided, were widely shared by many in Germany. The prosecution case relies heavily on guilt by association, linking Streicher to the atrocities of the Nazi regime simply because of his membership and influence. Your Honor, the prosecution witness, Mr. Martin, himself agreed that Mr. Streicher was not directly involved in the Nazi plans and propagandas. Mr. Julius Streicher also mentioned in his testimony that all his publications are because of fear, because he was already kicked out of the Nazi party. And in cross-examination, Mr. Julius stated that it was for the sake of money. It has nothing to do with the incitement of genocide. Your Honor, this Stürmer newspaper was his private newspaper, and Nazi party used official newspaper to deliver their message of anti-Semitism and extermination of Jews. Moreover, Your Honor, the prosecution has failed to demonstrate a direct causal link between Streicher's words and the atrocities committed by the Nazi regime. Your Honor, his writings and speeches, however hateful, but they didn't order or command the extermination of Jews or other minorities. Your Honor, this case is about Julius' role in the commitment of the offense of incitement to the genocide and crime. But prosecution failed to prove the offense of commitment of genocide against Julius. Julius was a part of Nazi regime that caused the Holocaust. So prosecution failed to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that Julius committed the offense of genocide and crime against humanity. Your Honor, we present Exhibit B. Exhibit B we submit as evidence as he was not part of the Reichstag House conference in which the final planned solution was planned, or we can say Holocaust was planned, which was an important event in the history of Nazi Party. And this also shows that he was not a party of Nazi regime or Nazi Party. Your Honor, we urge you to consider the principles of justice and fairness. To hold Streicher accountable for the crimes of Nazi regime would be a miscarriage of justice. His words were harmful, but they were not equivalent of pulling the trigger. Your Honor, we urge you that you find Julius Streicher guilty only of the charges that are supported by the credible evidence, and not to hold him account for the sins of Nazi regime as a whole. Thank you, Your Honor. And we have submitted Exhibit B in the chat.
Okay, thank you, defense. I'm going to fill in our ballots and then give a few quick comments for the case. Starting off with the opening and closing statements, I am very, very impressed by both sides' ability to articulate those ideas. And especially for defense, because I know this is not a very easy laid it out perfectly, and prosecution too. There was excellent rhetoric, pacing, and structure. So I can tell that you guys are all very strong speakers. However, one thing I would really like all of you to work on is courtroom decorum. So when you are engaging in cross-examinations in particular, and this issue is reflected in all of your cross-examinations, we need to learn to listen to your witness more. And for witnesses, do not directly argue back with the attorney. And remember, for the attorneys, that when your witness is being cross-examined by the opposing witness, it is your responsibility to make sure that they are protected, to make sure that points are being rebutted. It shouldn't be the witness's responsibility to communicate with the opposing attorney. With that said, try not to be so aggressive when you are asking witnesses questions, and just do not talk over each other. And aside from that, I think skills-wise, you guys are all very, very talented, and this was a very interesting trial to preside for. Are there any questions in particular? Okay, if not, then you guys are free to go. I'm gonna dismiss this courtroom.